Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Syed Mujataba Andrabi. I represent the United States Counsel General-Hyderabad in Hyderabad that also covers the state of Orissa. Good evening to the distinguished guests on the dais, Minister Gadai, Mr. Member of Parliament Parida, and Mr. Chatterjee. And good evening to all the living legends. It is really an honor to be in your presence. I would like to thank Odisha Diary for giving me an opportunity to be here among you all. I think when I planned to be here, the idea was that I would speak on the role of media in public policy. And then it sort of transmuted into something different, that what does the US government do in India? And what does the Consulate General of Hyderabad do in Odisha, I beg your pardon. But I think I'll tread both sides, if you don't mind, and I'll take very little of your time. I'm not an expert in media, and I'm less of an expert in public policy. There are people here who are more qualified than me to speak on that. But I'll just want to take you through a little bit of a historical context, what I know about my country. Media in the United States plays a very important role. One of the most impressive things that I have found while I have been living in India for the last 18 months is that media in India plays an even greater role. One of the things that is most impressive is the freedom of expression in India, the freedom of press in India. And going back to my country, how did it shape public policy? I'll give you a couple of examples. So let's start from the beginning. You know, there were 13 colonies in what is now the United States, and 13 colonies were ruled by the British. The people of these 13 colonies wanted independence from Great Britain, but they were never sure how to articulate it. And then one person by the name of Thomas Paine wrote a small tract called Common Sense. This tract, few pages, changed the history of America, changed the history of the greatest empire on earth, and changed the history of modern world by giving Americans a reason to fight for their independence and create a new nation. That is the power of media. Of course, at that time, Thomas Paine wrote it by hand, made copies by hand, and distributed it among only people he could meet in person. That is one of the first instances in the United States where media altered public policy through public perception. A few years later, our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, who laid the foundation of political democracy in the United States, and our another leader, Alexander Hamilton, who laid the foundations of capitalist economy in the United States, both pillars of United States society, debated every bit of public policy through medium of articles that they wrote, which later were called the Federalist Papers. Every rule, every policy, every principle that United States stands by today was the result of these small articles that were written, known as the Federalist Papers, and circulated among people. And this is how we shaped the country that became the United States. So the role of media, and of course civil society, which is another part of it, in shaping public policy is huge. Coming to modern times, two instances before I conclude. In the 60s, America went through a churning that was inspired from India by the father of your nation, Mahatma Gandhi. The civil rights movement, the civil liberties movement that was led by Martin Luther King Jr. It represents a very ugly part in our history of segregation. What happened during that time was television was still a distant reality. Small newspapers all over the country started carrying photographs of these images of segregation and started changing the very way Americans thought about civil liberties, about civil rights. It took years. It took many, many letters from the Montgomery jail that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, which got published in newspapers, and slowly over years forced the Congress of the United States, which makes laws for us, to change the laws and create and make new laws which promoted justice, equality, and human rights, the very things that the United States of America is proud of. Finally, a very mundane thing. You know, there are usually, if you meet Americans, they will usually say that they are very happy with the United States because of its very clean food laws and its very easy labor laws. That was not the case. Beginning of the 20th century, there were hardly any food laws or Food and Drug Administration, as it later became to be known, or there was anything equal to labor laws. It was newspapers and journalists who went, watched people in factories, started writing about it, watched people making meals in restaurants and started writing about it, that forced our lawmakers to change laws and create the world's largest Food and Drug Administration that covers everything that is eaten, consumed, enters, exits the United States of America. That is how public policy is shaped and molded by media. And of course civil society. I don't think I need to go to civil society because you have tremendous examples here in your own country. Moving on, for the next 2 minutes, I'll tell you exactly what the United States Counsel General-Hyderabad does. We represent the United States government in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa. Our mandate, apart from issuing visas for travel, work, education, our mandate is to engage the governments of India, the governments of Orissa and Andhra Pradesh. Contact for exchanges in education, in the scientific community, for exchanges in business, for exchanges among public servants like myself. That is Counsel General-Hyderabad in a nutshell. There is nothing more important to the United States government right now, and you must have heard this many, many times before, than this emerging, defining relationship that the United States of America and the Republic of India have. And that is, with your help, with something that we do every day, little by little, that relationship will flower and its benefits will reach not only the people of the United States, but also the people of India, two people who are joined by shared values, democracy, justice, and liberty. Thank you very much. God bless you all.